and welcome to this discussion on your IP, your future with Creative First. In today's discussion, we will explore various facets of intellectual property rights from an actor and author's perspective. So without much ado, let me invite our esteemed speakers today. Our first speaker, Divya Dutta, is a popular actor who has delivered outstanding performances in Hindi and Punjabi films, and who's also an author and a poet. She has won more than 25 film awards, which include a National Award for Best Actor Female in a Supporting Role for Irada, Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Veer Zara at the Zee Cine Awards, and an IFA Award for Best Supporting Actress in Delhi 6. She has acted in more than 100 feature films, which include notable films such as Gippy, Bhag Milka Bhag, My Friend Pinto, Stanley Ka Daba, to name a few. Her first poem, Jab Sab Theek Hoga Na, was based on the lockdowns in the country and has been much appreciated. Her memoir, Me and Ma, published in 2017, was one of the most talked about books of that year. And she has recently launched a second book, The Stars in My Sky, and I hope to speak with you, Divya, more about it. Welcome to this conversation with Creative First.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lohita. It's a pleasure being here.
Our second speaker, Jamshed, is an experienced counsel and founder of the International Legal Alliance, a virtual global network of lawyers. He has a demonstrated history of working in the law practice industry and skilled in various types of litigation, international law, media, and entertainment law. Jamshed is a member of the Bombay Bar Association, the IP Rights Practitioners Association, Maximum Lawyer Group, and associate member of the Canadian Bar Association. He is also advisory board member of the South Asian Fashion Week at Vancouver and the Vancouver International South Asian Film Festival. Welcome again, Jamshed.
Thank you. Good to see you.
So Divya, you are a very accomplished actor, and I've personally enjoyed watching all your films. Big fan of yours. How did you take to writing?
I guess it was just an extension, Lohita. First of all, thank you so much. You've been really generous. I think writing was just another step ahead for me. And I've been writing newspaper columns for many years. And there was a beautiful connect I had with the readers. So I remember once I was doing a play with Om Puri, and I was on stage, and after the play, this lady just came up and she hugged me tight. And I thought she's probably praising my performance. And she said, performance to acha tha, lekin what you wrote in the newspaper gave me the courage to just go out and on a holiday by myself, not waiting for my husband and my sons. And I just enjoyed my own company. So I just thought there was a beautiful connect with the readers, and they look up to what you write. And for me, my first book then came up, which was a catharsis for me. My hugest, I think, fear used to be losing my mother, and I wanted to celebrate a parent who had been a perfect friend. So Me and Ma came, and I think it kind of made a foundation for me as an author, because it introduced me to a different world of literary festivals, of authors, of writers. And then I think the second book was just a progress, and everyone asked me what's next. And that was something that I'm extremely passionate about, is the movies and the world of movies, and my journey, and the people who made it so special. And The Stars in My Sky is about that. So I guess this will continue with something else now.
Yes, and I do hope our viewers, look up and buy your book and read it. I'm sure it's going to be really interesting. Do you plan to write fiction in the future?
Well, I never say no, but yes, I know my next is going to be short stories. A few would be fiction, a few would be just observations from life. And yes, I think my next would be that.
So your IP, your future is actually conversations between industry experts on the value of intellectual property. So Jamshed, is there a difference in assigning rights for work that involve autobiographies and pure fiction?
So in fact, the term author under our Indian Copyrights Act sort of defines who the owner or the first, sort of in this case, the writer is. Now, for example, if you are doing an autobiography of someone, all you really need to do is to get the permission of, if the person is living, then of course him, or if he's, passed away, then his next of kin. And then of course you can proceed, so that, usually there is an agreement to that effect. And of course, it's pure fiction, then it's entirely yours, because you're the person who's created starting with the idea and then gone on to actually writing a sort of a short synopsis, and then maybe a book or a script, or whatever else. So that way, the act doesn't really differentiate between whether it's autobiographical or not. It's usually what happens is subsequently, when it goes into sort of pre-production, production. That's that, and if a studio gets involved, for example, they would like to have the rights secured. So that is when all this comes into play. So as far as the legal side is concerned, no, a little more paperwork if it is autobiographical. I think that's the only difference.
And say if, since Divya has written her first book, and if that possibly, will be adapted into a film, not in its true form, what are the things that probably she should keep in mind? What are the IP perspectives out there?
Okay, so the important aspect here is that since Divya is here, I will say that Divya is the first owner of the copyright, and it's very interesting. Earlier, the copyright regime said that for like ₹1, you could sell, and all your rights, you can assign all your rights and do whatever you want. Then the regime changed, and now we have amendments, and we pretty much follow the US regime now, and parts of even the French system. So what happens there is that the first owner's rights, and this is very important, especially with regard to royalties, that remains with her permanently. Nobody can take that away. So remember, you can assign all your rights except the fact that you are the first owner or the author of the book. So that remains with you, and for the next 60 years after you pass away. Of course, if you give it away, to a library or an institution named after you, that's a different story. But it remains with you, and I think that's very important. I mean, this reminds me of when we were in Austria. Like, the United Nations used to pay the Austrian government 1 shilling for the use of its acres of land. So if anybody tells you that we can buy all your rights in perpetuity for the future forever, say yes, I'm willing to give it over. But in India, my right as first author or first owner of the copyright will remain with me in perpetuity. So I think that's a very, very important and very secure feeling that an author must have. So you have the ownership, come what may. You may assign it, yes, but authorship is yours.
Divya,
that's right. That's really good to hear that. I really didn't know this. Thank you, Jamshed. Gee, sorry, Lohita, what you saying?
When you sign a film, how involved are you in the contract?
See, earlier I wasn't as much into it. I was like, creatively, I used to just jump and say, hey, we are doing this. And then when you go on the set, and then now I think things have also become way far more organized as per say your contracts, as per say the way it's handled. Earlier it used to be कि आप आ जाओ set पे फिर sign कर लेंगे movie. It used to be like that. So it didn't even matter. It was more of trust, कि जानते हैं and all that, face value and blah blah. So now, of course, you have proper contracts, you have corporates coming in, everything is on paper. So even if I'm working with a friend, I remember just recently, I just worked with a friend and I said, Are tum ho, likh do, koi baat nahi. I'm being like a naive woman and, all emotional. He said, it's not about emotions here. You better put everything on the paper, what you want, how it should be, how are your payments made, when are they made, what do you require, what are the rights that you have, what are the rights we have, everything. So I think it's nicer and much more healthier that you know how it is, how you want it to be, how you want things on the set, what are your rights. It's important for every actor to get this out of your system and then concentrate on the creatives of it. So yes, now I am a lot into it. My team tells me this is what we are signing, go through it, and I go through it. If there's any issue, then we discuss it. Of course, for a lay person like me, reading so many pages can be like, "Acha, ye to ye hai, this right, that right." But I guess that little patience is required for you to just know what exactly you're signing, what you're getting into, what are they getting into, and what do you expect out of a contract.
Jamshed, how involved do you think actors should be when they sign agreements? And what are the various rights involved in these agreements which they should know?
Okay. I'll start with a lighter note. I think as a lawyer who deals with the entertainment business, it is my business to know, for example, what a Jimmy Jib is. Similarly, I think it's important that an actor, because all they really have, apart from, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to belittle this, but it's the creativity. It's what they bring. Their performance is what is important, and how do you secure that in, because it's mainly intangible. So that has to be then brought down and reduced in writing. So Divya is absolutely right. In the past, in fact, if you spoke to producers, actors, all of them said that it's fine. It's based on trust, and there's to be like half a paragraph contracts, and I've seen that kind of. If you ever mention that, did you have an arbitration clause? They would say, "What's that?" But I think things have completely changed. We are in a globalized system, and it is necessary now that. And even the number of rights have changed. I mean, performers' rights and so many other rights. Your image, your digital image, now that has become very important. So I think and each part of each right is actually then marketed and commercially exploited. So as far as the actor is concerned, all those aspects, apart from the usual agreements with regard to the monetary aspect, I must bring this in, that you must also, of course, with the help of your lawyer or manager, whoever, ensure that jurisdiction is sort of something that's comfortable with you. You must also ensure that if there is an alternative medium of ensuring that you're without going to court, like an arbitration or mediation, that should be encouraged, because quite often than not, cases apart from Copyrights Act, for most everything is contractual. So it's better you have that alternate dispute mechanism also in place. And as Divya rightly said, at the end of the day, you should get it out of the way and clear it. And also the other very important aspect, that as and when there is a dispute or difference, first try and resolve it. Don't unnecessarily rush to court. Courts are terribly overburdened, and I don't think they have the time, and it could lead to adverse impact. But if you have all these things in place, and it also helps, because internationally, if you say that yes, I'm somebody who has a proper contract, and this is how I, and also your non-disclosure. Sometimes that is important. Somebody goes to a party and says, "Oh, I'm doing this, that, and the other." Maybe you're not supposed to say that. So I think these things are important, and yes, the actor should be aware of at least basics. Even, some of them don't even know that in India we have the Indian Contract Act. So I think that needs to change.
So definitely getting a lawyer on board is important. You mentioned image rights earlier. Could you tell us more about that?
So, image in the sense now, with the blockchain technology and other things coming in, what has also happened is an image can then be broken down into several parts, and that with your NFTs and things like that, that is now being sold all across the world, and money is being raised. So you have people. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, somebody got in touch. Oh, do you know so and so personality? We're trying to get in touch with them because we would like their rights for setting up their NFTs and digital image rights and things like that. Now, again, this shows that there's been a lot of progress, and that's the interesting thing about law. As law is in keeping with the times. So now, although we don't yet have cryptocurrency being recognized in India, but at some point we will. So how do you take care of these things? So again, international law kicks into, which jurisdiction are you talking about? So does it mean that, I think eventually we may even have to have an amendment in our Copyrights Act, although with the different sort of the conventions that we have, they would be applicable in other countries. But always remember the Copyrights Act, especially if it is a book or you're an author, the author should have been in India. That's another thing that you should remember. So it's very interesting. Things are changing. There is no specific law just now on this, but I think it will develop.
Divya, do you think online curated content, all the web series today, is as a platform gives female actors a better chance? And more importantly, do you feel the pay disparity is diminishing?
Well, it's a very interesting change, Lohita, which has been very gradual. We've been stuck in lockdowns, and then, for us, the movies are the main entertainment. And gradually, somewhere, it all came through the OTT, where you could just watch everything sitting at home. And that kind of somewhere, I think, is a very democratic medium where the content has become the king, where you watch something because it seems interesting rather than who is in it. I mean, of course, it matters, but what matters more is good actors, good acting, good storytelling, and good presentation. So this has brought in so many newcomers, so many big stars who are like coming in again, and so many good actors as such on the same platform, and it's for the people to choose what they want to watch. So that, I think, is a very healthy trend that has come in. And because what happened earlier, I mean, with movies, and still happens, is that when you probably are casting for a film, you'll say, yaar, ek star bata do, kisko lein, or the hero kaun hoga. That thing is there with the masses. But somewhere with the OTTs coming in, that line of mass and class is kind of diminishing. And because of that, also, this pay parity that you're talking about has also become better. I mean, I think it is more of what you're playing rather than who you are. Are you the lead of the show? Are you whatever? And you're paid accordingly. And I'm seeing most definitely a good change for women. I'm feeling it myself. And I'm not saying we are out there. There's a still long way to go. You need to just keep proving yourself continuously with everything. And there's a demand and supply always. So if you are there, you're doing it, you get paid. And if not, then you kind of, take lesser money because you want a better show or a better movie. But yes, I'm saying the trends are getting better for sure for women, and roles-wise as well as pay-wise.
And I think the only way to keep that trend going is to continue to talk about it. So we'll make sure that whenever we have further conversations, we should bring this up and put it out there.
Sure.
But how do you really choose a film, Divya? Advice for our audience. What are the most important factors to keep in mind while signing a film? And more from a, beginner's perspective.
I guess for me, it's been a different journey, Lohita. It wasn't about getting work. It was about getting the work I wanted to do. And that, I think our industry has this thing of branding you with an image. Hey, this one does that very well, so give her that role. And my thing was always, I sat at home after V Zara for a year. Because I didn't want to do similar roles, the biggest banners, the best of directors, the best of roles. I didn't do it because I thought if I only get bored watching myself do the same stuff again and again, how do I expect my audience to enjoy that? Until a time, then it becomes like jaded, and you feel bored what you're doing. So I feel when you're excited about what you're doing, there's this childlike enthusiasm in you that, hey, this is going to make me nervous. This is going to push me to a corner. This is going to take me beyond my comfort zone. Then I think that excitement, that glint in your eyes is always reaching your audience, and then they like you. I think I've been lucky that way. I've had such amazing admiration and love from my audience, and I think for 25 good years, this has really lasted me beautifully. And my thing always is I follow my gut when I sign a film, be it a small film, be it a big film. If I jump on my sofa while hearing it, I am going to do it. So I know I'm going to enjoy myself. And most important thing is that you have fun doing what you're doing. And that for me is the mantra.
For someone who's getting into the industry, maybe just out of film school, what is more important in your opinion, a good script or the length of the role?
I've never gone by the length of the role. In fact, I think whatever you do it so well that people notice you out there. And with the OTT mediums coming in, oh my God, look at the new talent that we have. I mean, and the best thing is that, I should credit this to the casting directors and the producers and directors, that they are not apprehensive about taking somebody who's done a small role earlier in some OTT. They just notice and they say, isko main role mein le lo. So that thing of "Are isko bechenge kaise" has come on. I mean, on at least OTT has kind of lessened out because there's such amazing marketing happening. You're coming with a big production house, and that guy you saw in some piddly little role in some film has been launched. And we have so many examples now with actors who become stars suddenly, who become the center faces of a show. And I think it's a very heartening trend. So I don't think you should be seeing lengths, first of all. Of course, it's a gradual process. Nothing in the industry is something you get immediately. There's always a journey. So just take on the work you get and prove yourself the best way you can. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who are there to sit there and observe and take you on.
Jamshed, moving on to authors and poetry, what are the important factors that an author needs to keep in mind while signing publishers, signing deals with publishers? And tell us more about negotiation points you feel are important that all authors should keep in mind.
So, as I said, I mean, the most important aspect always is your bundle of rights, because under the Copyrights Act, it's not just one right, but you have several rights which are all put together, and your rights of authorship. How you're going to hand it over. What are the the royalty payments that, especially as an author, which that's with regard to a publisher, that would be a very important aspect. Like, for example, in the music industry, it's quite settled. But in when it comes to a publishing house, you would have 2 or 3 options. Then, of course, then optioning for a film. I mean, then somebody in a production house or a studio might come to you and say, please, option a film. The title and the your synopsis for a year, and I'll get back to you. So those are things that you need to consider, and then I think all the usual the other clauses, and payment in interest rate and things like that. Those are usually what you would keep in mind specifically, and poetry is also very, very interesting. I think you're as a poet. I mean, also say, for example, if your poetry is performed or taken and by somebody else without your permission, then and read out somewhere else. I mean, you can be gracious enough and say, yes, this is for the world, it's at large. But then, I mean, if it is exploited commercially, yes, surely you can, have a stake. Suppose if your poetry is read out as in a movie by someone, then, or in an ad without your permission, of course you can, fight and say, I'd like. And at the end of the day, I think internationally you have sort of copyright societies which deal with things like this. In India, it's yet to happen.
Right.
Yes.
Divya, what advice would you give to those aspiring to be an author?
Well, I am somebody who always goes with the heart first. So I think you should If you really think you have it in you, and you have something to say, you must, and give it your darn best. I think you should write, then you write with all your passion, all your observations, all your focus, and all your, whatever insights you have. So, and of course, the art of writing and the art of expressing, of course, matters a lot. And then, yes, I think you should find yourself. Of course, there's so many. We have these publishing houses which are the top ones, but even if not, then you have the others who just publish books for you. And of course you have you can write it on your blog now. It is such a freedom that once you get popular with your blogs and with your writings, you start getting offers automatically. So I sometimes have so many people asking me, how do we find ourselves these publishers? So I just feel this is the way to go. We have so much exposure now thanks to the social media. So right out there, I've seen so many poets who just come and we are like retweeting them and saying, hey, this one is fabulous, and overnight that person becomes a star. So I think these are good times to feel encouraged, to feel inspired and motivated to do what you really want to do. But yes, just see that you're not using your freedom to write and express to just harm or hurt somebody. I would really feel that.
And Divya, what would be your advice for actors coming from smaller towns? I mean, everybody is, enamored by the glitz and the glamour, but what are the platforms available for them besides social media, or on social media? How can they really make an impact to be recognized and find work?
I come from a small town myself, and Ludhiana, and it was so intriguing that I was in Ludhiana for my book launch recently, and my teachers and my class fellows, my principals, and those who were there as well, who were not much in favor of my joining movies or saying, hey, listen, you should study further, because 25 years back things were not the same. You were Now people are very encouraging. The parents I see, they'll come and say, अरे हमारे बच्चे को प्लीज ये वाले शो पे डलवा दीजिए, यहाँ भेज दीजिए, ये डांस शो में, ये वाले सिंगिंग शो में. People are excited about exposure for their young ones now. There's encouragement towards talent. There is a certain acceptance to this kind of glamour, and it's not like people are very overtly protective about their kin. So all I would say is that coming from a small town, you do have these limitations that you don't have contacts. You don't know who is the right person. To meet the right people is the most important thing, I think, Lohita. And sometimes things get lost in translation. You meet these people who are not really the people you want to meet, may not be the right people. So you have to be careful, because there are all kinds of people, not just in the industry, I think, everywhere. So make sure you go to the right casting directors, right people you meet, you go straight. My mother used to say, हमेशा टहनियों से नहीं बात करो, पेड़ के उधर तक root तक पहुंचो. So I think it's always nice to not just hang on to the branches. Go straight to the tree and see what you want. So I think now everyone is so beautifully available. I remember first time as a newcomer, I had called Sham Benegal directly on the mobile, and he just picked up the phone and said, Sham Benegal speaking. I was like, I stopped breathing. I was like, really? He is speaking directly? There's no manager, there's nobody. And I said, sir, this is Divya Dutta, and I really want to come and see you and work with you. And he says, yes, you can come tomorrow at 4 p.m. So I was like, really? Was that easy? No chakkar katoing, no nothing. So I think this trend has now come in where people are very encouraging and open to meeting. Corporates have brought in such an amazing trend, I must say, where everything is very well organized. I must say the casting directors, kahan hota tha ye pehle, ab hota hai. So everything is very well planned for the people who want to join in. So these are good times, I must say, and you should be fortunate if you can find that one thing which brings you into the industry and makes you leave a mark.
So on that note, we'll end today's session. For those out there, yes, never give up an opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Divya, for speaking with us today.